Welcome to the Transom Podcast, a monthly roundup of the new features on the transom.org website, providing mathematical puzzles, games, learning activities, and the ever-popular mathematics lesson starter of the day. Here's your host, John Tranter.
Hello and welcome to podcast number 2, the only even prime number, as we all know. This brings you up to date with happenings for the beginning of September 2014 on Transom Mathematics. So we'll start off with the puzzle of the month for you to think about as you drive, cycle, jog, or do the housework, or whatever it is that you do while you're listening to this podcast. So here we go. A bit of a long one this month. Antonio, Richard, Miguel, and Colin have to walk through a long, dark tunnel. They only have one torch or flashlight between them, so a maximum of 2 people can go through the tunnel at any one time. Each person takes a different amount of time to get through the tunnel, and if 2 people walk together, they must walk at the rate of the slowest. So here we go. Antonio, he would take 2 minutes to get through the tunnel. He's the fastest. Richard would take 5 minutes. Miguel would take 9 minutes. Colin, 10 minutes, and he's the slowest. You might want to write those 4 numbers down if you can, because they're crucial to finding a solution. So Antonio takes 2 minutes, Richard 5 minutes, Miguel 9 minutes, and Colin 10 minutes. And the question is, what is the least amount of time for all 4 to walk through the tunnel? So remember, they all begin at the same end of the tunnel, and they have one torch between them, which must be walked back through the tunnel by at least one person. It cannot be thrown. And surprisingly, the answer is less than 28 minutes. For example, if Miguel and Colin walk through the tunnel together, it will take 10 minutes, because 10 minutes is the time Colin would take, and he's the slower of the 2. If Miguel then walks the torch back through the tunnel, the total time will be 19 minutes. So you have to continue this until all 4 are at the other end of the tunnel. And what's the least amount of time you can do that? Okay, some thinking time for you while I ramble on about other things that are important in September. If you're in the UK or the States, it's back to school time, while the rest of the people, those down under, it's business as usual, I suppose. Talking of back to school, it's the time teachers meet classes for the first time, often with little or no information about the abilities and personalities of the pupils in front of them. There are some great starter ideas that work well with pupils of all abilities and quickly give you, the teacher, a very good idea of the mathematics they can remember. In particular, BTS, Back to School, encourages pupils to write down equations of their own devising. A quick walk around the classroom while they're doing this activity gives you, the teacher, a wealth of information about how sophisticated their understanding of the subject is. You'll spot the pupils struggling to come up with even the most basic expressions, while the bright sparks will stand out with their ability to produce a great variety of equations using not just run-of-the-mill concepts. So that's a great first lesson activity and gives you an insight into the pupils in your new class. Did you know that occasionally, very occasionally, the Transom website might go down due to some problems with the internet? Well, coming to your rescue, there are mirror sites for Transom, and they contain all of the starters and activities, but they're stored on different servers in different places. So as well as transom.org, there is also transom.com, and transom.info. These mirror sites provide you with a reassurance that should transom.org go offline, you can quickly switch to a mirror site to find the activity you need for your lesson. Unfortunately, your Transom account and the details of the trophies that the pupils have earned are all stored on transom.org. So if you switch to a mirror site, you don't get that information. So it's not a perfect solution, but it's better than nothing. So fingers are crossed that the servers do not go down during the busy month of September. Web hosts called GoDaddy have a very good uptime record, but they're not perfect, and there are times when the site is inaccessible. So remember transom.com and transom.info as the backups. So, what changed last month? What were the updates on the Transom website for the month of August? Well, a new activity called Connect 4 Factors. It's a game which uses the 4 in a line principle of the popular Connect 4 game, but each of the counters contains a number, and the twist is that 4 in a line means 4 numbers with a common factor, well, except 1. So it's a good mathematical thinking activity while being fun at the same time. In fact, I've seen too many students over the years that, while understanding the algebraic concept of factorization, cannot easily spot the common numerical factors. So a game like this might help improve common factor spotting ability. Games are such a nice change from exercises for practicing mathematical techniques, so I can recommend that to you. Chess has been added to the strategy games section. The interactive chess games come with some mathematical puzzles that might interest your pupils, and there's a drafts game there too. Circle theorems are essential learning for pupils in upper secondary, and I put together some big, bold diagrams of each of the important theorems to support your teaching. The diagrams are accompanied by dynamic models powered by the wonderful GeoGebra and the marvelous Autograph software. Numerology is the final new activity for August. It's modestly hiding on the Fun Maths page, as I'm not really sure how teachers will decide to use it, to be honest. It's still not in its final format, but is fully working for you to use. It's designed to inform pupils that the early mathematicians had some strange ideas about the mystic properties of numbers. It's also designed to make the notion of fortune-telling questionable by making the process transparent and a little ridiculous. The activity saves itself in the end, however, with some questions about the mode, mean and range of the pupil-generated data, the numbers that the pupils have typed into the page. But for the time being, it can stay in the Fun Maths section. Those of you in the UK might be embarking on a brand new scheme of work this term due to the new national curriculum. Transom has a page of suggested activities for each curriculum statement. Click on the strands and statements on our national curriculum page to drill down to the activities that will help support the learning of those statements.
You are listening to the Transom podcast. You can find Transom Mathematics at www.transom.org.
We welcome last month new subscribers from the UK, the States, Australia, New Zealand, and for the first time, Guatemala. So you're all very welcome. Thanks to those of you who leave comments on the activities. It's really good to get your feedback. Positive comments provide a warm, satisfied feeling, while suggestions for improvement often lead to an activity being redesigned. So some of the comments that were received last month include one from Matthew, from Year 5 at Craigsley State School who thought that the bridge crossing starter was a very interesting puzzle. You know, one of these days, some pupil somewhere is going to find a solution to that problem, the Königsberg Bridge problem. Well, who knows? There's an angle estimating starter which comes with a protractor that can be dragged around the screen. Richard Field commented, "I have tried Torch and Chrome, but the protractor doesn't rotate." Well, Richard, try holding down the Shift key as you drag the protractor to rotate it. If it still doesn't work in your version of the browser, there's a Flash version online as well, and the link is under the main panel. That's the angle estimating starter. On the subject of comparing cubes, JD from WA, I'll leave you to decide what they stand for, says students don't need to convert cubic millimeters to cubic centimeters. They can find the cube root of each and then they are converting millimeters to centimeters, which is much easier. Yes, there's definitely two ways to do this problem, and one of them is much easier than the other. Converting cubic millimeters to cubic centimeters is going to test the most able students, and many people will get that wrong. But converting millimeters to centimeters is, of course, much easier. So think about that. And he puts a quote from Thomas Edison: "If there is a better solution, find it." I totally agree. On the subject of word difference starter, Ms. Keplinger from Australia says her Year 5 class on the Gold Coast there have found quite a few other number puzzles where the letters of the numbers written as words make up a new sum that makes sense. And she's given examples which are in the comments by Francesca and Jamil and Natalie and Dorothy. So well done all of you for coming up with those additional puzzles for the word difference starter. On the subject of the BTS starter, Mr. Ben from Circular Primary Australia says great activity. That's very nice, thank you very much. On the subject of the Arithmegon starter, John B from Sydney, Australia says my class love this activity. We would like to see something like this again. So that's a nice note to end on. So finally, it's time for the answer to this month's puzzle about the four people walking through the tunnel. Surprisingly, it can be done in 27 minutes. Did you get that? Well, the way to achieve this shortest time might seem anti-intuitive. It did to me to start with, but here's the solution then. So to start with, Antonio and Richard walk through, taking 5 minutes. Then Antonio walks back with the torch, taking 2 minutes. So that's 7 minutes in total so far. Then Miguel and Colin walk through, taking 10 minutes, bringing the total up to 17. Then Richard walks back with the torch, taking 5 minutes. Total's now 22. And finally, Antonio and Richard walk through the tunnel, taking 5 minutes, which makes the grand total 27 minutes. Amazing. Have a good September. Oh, and try to avoid doing calculus when you're thirsty. You've heard the warning, don't drink and drive.
Thank you for downloading and listening to the Transum podcast. You can find the website at www.transum.org, where you're welcome to use all of the activities absolutely free, or jump in with both feet and become a Transum subscriber.